Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the True Life Podcast. I hope everybody's having a beautiful day. I hope the sun is shining. Hope the birds are singing. Hope the wind is at your back. In a world addicted to speed and deafened by distraction, there is a plant that whispers. It speaks in the language of sun on stone, in the pulse of rain on desert soil, a rhythm older than empires, enduring beyond the fever of our age. The ancients of the Cape called it Kanna, a bridge between shadow and light, between the storms of the heart and the stillness at its center. Our guest has not only heard that whisper, he translates it for the modern soul. Ryan Latreille, alchemist of the unseen, steward of the subtle, founder of Kanna Extract Co, Hearthstone Collective, and Flow Labs, a man walking the liminal edge between ethnobotany and innovation, culture and chemistry, earth wisdom and human evolution, with over a decade immersed in mushrooms, plant medicine, and the art of transformation. He's shaping a future where wellness is a birthright and every molecule is chosen with reverence. Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Latreille. Thanks for being here, Ryan. How are you?
I'm doing well. That was the most beautiful intro anyone's ever given me. Thank you.
Yeah, I love it,
Can you send
man.
me a copy of that? That was awesome.
Yeah, man. Well, I want people in my audience, whether they're watching, whether they're listening, to get to see people the way I see them. And I know I met you briefly out at the psychedelic playhouse event, and it was an awesome event out there. And I want to bring you on here, man, just to give people an idea of not only who you are, but what you're up to in this world and Kana. And so, yeah, man, I'm really stoked you're here. And that being said, is there anything I left out there for you to fill in, or any kind of anything before we jump into some questions here?
I feel like you covered it, and it's such a good intro for Kana in particular because not a lot of people have heard of Kana, but it comes from this ancient. It's an ancient plant medicine that comes from like the cradle of humanity, where maybe we all came from. And so it's been used for who knows how long.
Well, how did you find Kana, or did Kana find you?
Oh, it found me for sure. I was 26. I had never experienced a psychedelic. I never like been high in my life at that point, and I was invited to a facilitated experience where you know facilitators are sharing compounds with people, and um, so I didn't even really understand what I was being given. Like I'd never done even a yoga class before that. Um, so and this is 2012, so it's like a very different landscape in this world. Like everything's very underground still, and yeah, I was invited to this facilitated experience, and I was given it was a combination of MDMA and Kana. And not only was it my first time experiencing an altered state of consciousness, but my first heart opening, which is like a very specific kind of altered state. And it was very, very profound and changed the trajectory of my entire life after that experience.
Man, it's interesting to see or listen to the account of someone who can experience a new relationship with themselves after just taking a psychedelic or Kana or MDMA. It's How did your life change after that? Or I mean, it sounds pretty profound to me. And I don't, as someone who's had some pretty profound experiences, it sounds like one of those experiences where after you have it, like your relationship with everything else changes.
For sure. I mean, I like, as I really like start to, I don't even know if like this many years later, I don't even know if I've processed it enough
Right?
to really properly appreciate it. But what I remember so vividly is, um, I think what's so profound about that those two compounds, Kana, MDMA, they fall into this category of empathogens,
Yeah.
which in the world of psychoactive substances, they're not like LSD or mushrooms. Like they don't produce a lot of visuals. It's more of like this internal emotional experience. And for me, it was like I didn't realize how much weight I was carrying on my shoulders until I felt it melt away in that moment. and it was so important. Like I mean, I knew in that moment, like if more people could feel this, the world would be so much better. And it's like it wasn't a mystical experience. I didn't experience God. It was just this like intense experience of like relief and safety. Um, and yeah, I feel like the world, like people could really benefit from that right now.
Release and safety. I had to write that down. Like that's such a good description of what happens when you're kind of in tune with reality. And it seems like on some level we're so caught up in like algorithms and urgency and like just hustle culture. What an escape to get to feel the release and the self and that weight be released from you, man. Was that, but you mentioned it was with MDMA and Kanna and
The combination, yeah.
the combination of the two. What is Kanna like? Like, there's probably lots of people that are listening to this that are like, "What is Kanna?" Maybe we could back up and say, "What is Kanna?" And then we can dive into like
Yeah.
what it feels like solamente.
So Kanna is a plant medicine that comes from South Africa. It's a succulent that grows in the deserts there on the west coast. Um, it contains unique psychoactive compounds that aren't found in anything else on the planet. So what you feel from it is unique to Kanna. Um, the on its own, the like I would say it's very functional. So what meaning like it's I guess to preface, like Kanna's not scheduled. It's not a scheduled substance. It's legal, but it is psychoactive. Like when you take it, you feel it, and what you feel is happier, calmer. You feel more connected. Like you feel more at ease, especially like in social situations. And you just like feel delightful is like a good way to describe it. Um, Now, there's different ways to take it. There's different potencies that you can take that will make that much more intense or much more gentle. But for the most part, that's the description of Kanna. And then when you pair it with other compounds like MDMA or mushrooms, it really does transform, like change that entire, like it alchemizes that entire experience to make it more in the heart and body. So with MDMA in particular, what's really nice is you can take like half the amount of MDMA and still have a full heart opening, and so the experience is, I would say, like more like softer, less speedy,
Yeah,
and the recovery is also a lot easier.
man. It sounds like it takes that edge off of some of those other compounds that are a little bit difficult to deal with. Like I know like sometimes for psilocybin, like the come up can be a little tough, or
Yeah.
these different kind of compounds. Like it sounds like it really is sort of a companion to them. What's it like? You mentioned there's different sort of ways to take it, and some ways make it more intense, some ways make it less intense. And I noticed that when I go to the kannaextract.com, there's different sort of settings for it. Is that because of the dosage, or maybe you can run through like what makes Kanna a light gentle rush and what makes it more of an intense rush? Is it the extract? Is it the drops? Like what, maybe you can talk about the varieties of which taking it
Yeah.
changes the experience of it.
Um, so, our specialty is providing very pure, high potency
Okay.
extract. Um, and that starts with the genetics of the plant. Like if you don't have that foundation, you're not going to be able um, to produce a really good extract. So we're working with very high potency strains that have unique compositions of these alkaloids that are in the plant. Um, but yeah, so the our specialty is extracts, and so if you're on the site, you'll see there's 4 pure extract powders of Kanna. Lift, bliss, rest. I don't know if you've been on the site. Lift,
Yeah,
bliss,
of
rest.
course.
So those are all pure Kanna. They're just, you could think of it like different strains of
Okay.
cannabis. The extract profile is different, like the ratio of those alkaloids to each other is different, and they actually feel very different when you take them, and they're literally activating different neurotransmitters when you take those powders, and um, they're very versatile. So, our extracts, we supply a lot of brands with their uh, extract that they put in their products, so they can be put into edibles like gummies or chocolates. Um, I would say that's probably the most common way that people take Kanna is orally, and so those powders either in an edible form, or you could simply like mix it into your coffee or tea. And um, that experience, I would say, is like middle of the road. Like, it's a very functional
Okay.
experience where you're very much in control. You're like, you can go about your day, you can have conversations. It's really just going to enhance your day. It's like lighter than, say, like a microdose of mushrooms, and it's more like this euphoric, feeling happy experience, with the lift. At least we have profiles that are more relaxing. um, I would say the like, if you take it encapsulated, it's a little bit stronger, and so we have the Kanna dailies on there, and you can combine Kanna with other compounds, and it really potentiates those effects. Um, and then I would say next strongest way to take it is sublingually. So, if
Mhm.
because if you take anything sublingually, it's bypassing your GI. It's being absorbed through your bloodstream through these capillaries beneath your tongue, and you're gonna have a more rapid onset, and the come up is gonna be stronger. Um, Next, I would say is inhaling it, so
Cool.
vaporizing it or smoking it. Um, we used to offer a Kanna vape, which is my favorite way to take it, but we can't sell it on our website anymore because of our credit card processor. They don't want selling vapes. And and then finally, oh, and then smoking it. So, like, putting it in, uh, if you use cannabis, um, that is an amazing combo. It's actually an ancient combo. The indigenous communities that used to use Kanna traditionally would combine it with cannabis for a more mystical experience with the plant. Um, and it's really nice combined with cannabis, because it
Yeah.
really, like, it mellows it out. It's very rare to ever experience like a headiness or like paranoia with, like, even people that are very prone to that with cannabis. With the combo, they have a really really nice experience with it. Um, and then the strongest way to take it by far is to insufflate it. So to take it intranasally, like as a bump.
Yeah.
Um, and you don't need a lot to take it that way, and that is quite strong. Uh, then you're going to like feel the full effects of Kanna and recognize, okay, this is a plant medicine for sure. Um, and that and I don't necessarily recommend people do that unless they've done that
Right.
before, like pape, or um, that the onset is like, depends on the person. 10 to 20 minutes onset starts. Then for about 30 minutes, it's a very strong come up, and um, yeah, it's quite pronounced for about 30 minutes, and then that settles down, and then you're just in this really nice, warm, glowing space for like 2 to 3 hours. That is very functional. Um, and then what's really cool about Kanna is, like, after that 2 to 3 hour period, you're just back to baseline, and there's no hangover, no come down. Kanna's non-addictive. So for people that are looking for like the ideal social high, like something that they can take socially, that will just, like, they'll feel altered enough that they're like having a better time. It's easier to connect. They're more relaxed socially, but they want to be able to sleep that night. They only want it to last for a
Yes.
couple hours. They don't want to feel hungover the next day, and they don't want to get addicted to it. Like, that's Kanna. Um, so
Man. Yeah. Is it the same way? Like, I know that different modalities of taking it sometimes lead to longer lengths of half life. Does that kind of make sense? Is it the different ways you take it? Is there a longer half life or a longer duration?
It is so subjective. Like I do a lot of events, and
Right?
so I've given Kana to a lot of people in a lot of different ways, and I've seen people go for it, like go like they're feeling it for like 4 hours, 5 hours, because they're at a party, and um, one of the things that's going on with Kana is that it's a dopamine agonist.
Mm,
So
nice.
part of what's happening is that when you take it, like if you're in a situation that is naturally releasing your own dopamine, it's going to potentiate that. So you're going to feel even better. Um, and so like set and setting is really important
Sure.
with it. Um, but yeah, typically like inhaling it is very rapid onset, short duration. Um, Orally and sublingually seem to have the longest. That's like that 2 to 3 hour range, and then intranasally is where I've just seen a lot of variation,
Yeah.
anywhere from like 2 hours to 5 hours.
Do you think that in your opinion, is Kana more about chemistry or like the cosmology it grew inside?
I think it's both, and I talk to a lot of different groups of people that just have different
Right?
perspectives. Like just
Yeah.
I mean, relationship is so important with psychedelic substances, plant medicines. Like you kind of get out of it what you put into it, and the relationship that you build with it. Um, if you if you want to look at it from more of a like energetic perspective or spiritual perspective, um, we um, we love this plant, like you know the whole crew that grows it, extracts it, runs this business. Like we're our whole lives revolve around
Yeah.
Kana, and it's like the lifebloods of our family. Like it's what gives us money to live in this society, and we get to share this like amazing medicine with people. Um, so there's a lot of love that's going into the cultivation of the plants. Like just the amount of time that it took to develop these genetics is significant. Um, they're grown with respect to the people and planet. No pesticides or chemicals or anything like that is used in the cultivation of the plant. The extracts are as pure as you can get, third party lab tested. We have benefit sharing agreements where we are supporting indigenous communities that used Kana traditionally. Um, and uh, yeah, so I mean, we try to really respect the plant and also operate effectively as a business in Western culture. Um, and they're, as something that you can use in um, like for plant medicine practitioners, I think Kana is very interesting. Like it's a very interesting plant ally to add to your like tool belt or to your medicine cabinet because it's very gentle. It works very much with with the person that's taking it. So it's like a good entry point for people that are maybe scared to explore these spaces or are new to that. Um, and it's a great precursor for like bringing someone in gently and then deepening the experience with stronger medicines, because it does play so well with other compounds. um, and I also think just the fact that this is a plant medicine that comes from Africa, like the heart of the world, from where humanity may have like originated from, is also very very unique.
Yeah, I think so too. The word medicine, like I always get like caught up in this word medicine because it seems like it has this connotation of like being something that's like centrally sort of with medicine seems to me on some level to have a negative connotation because of all like the insurance companies that come with it, or the pain that comes with it, or the centralization that comes around medicine and stuff like that. Do you ever grapple with like the difference between like medicine and like sacrament, or how do you navigate that?
Uh, I kind of adapt to whoever I'm talking to, and it's
Right?
like I'm speaking a unique language, and so there's some people that don't like they get turned off by using the word
Right.
psychedelic. I love using the word psychedelic or psychoactive compounds,
Me too.
or I don't like, or even like I like using the word substance, like
Yeah.
substances, but they all like you're not gonna make everyone happy. It's not possible. But I totally hear what you're saying with plant medicine and sacrament. I think like um yeah, I do totally hear what you're saying.
Yeah. It's such an interesting time and place right now because like we're on this cusp of sort of reestablishing a relationship with the environment. I call it the environment. Like there's all these plant medicines out there, but then there's all this pushback and sort of this residual propaganda left over from just say no, or this is your brain on drugs. Like that's it seems like where you're at's a kind of a tricky place to navigate.
Yeah, I think everything in this world is going to be, I mean, like in the world of uh psychoactive compounds is
Yeah,
gonna be
yeah.
tricky. Um I really just focus on how do we make the best Kana possible.
Yeah.
And and in terms of like the way that we approach people, we haven't really like built a brand around like use cases and like this is how you can use it to party or deepen into your heart.
Right.
It's built more around like these are why, like these are the ways that we're providing like the best Kana possible. Um, and that's really just where I focus. So however you're going to use it, whatever kind of relationship you're going to make with it, we want to make sure you have the best possible source.
It's a great way to navigate it. And you guys, when I go to the website, there's a point, and I think it drives it home that ethically sourcing it. Like, what does that mean? And how do you ethically source it in a time when it seems like there's going to be more and more demand for it?
Um, well, I think there's different uh, there's different pillars of that.
Okay.
So one is um, especially as it becomes more popular, I'm starting to see more and more people start to sell Kana, what they're claiming to be Kana,
Right.
and and I think what's important when for people to like customers to understand or consumers to understand when you're buying Kana or trying to evaluate the quality of a product is to know how much mesembrine is in it.
Okay.
Mesembrine is the main alkaloid in Kana in the way that THC is the main like active chemical in cannabis. And so you can imagine like if you are shopping for a cannabis product and they're not telling you how much THC is in it, you have no idea what you're buying. Like they can tell you, oh, there's 100 milligrams of cannabis in it, or there's a 500 milligrams of cannabis in it, or this is 100 to 1 cannabis extract. Like that is irrelevant if you don't know how much THC is in it. Um, and and that's what's starting to happen with Kana is you'll have like brands that are very very like products that are very very cheap or inexpensive and they're just not using and like who knows if it's even really Kana in it.
Yeah.
um, because without the active alkaloid I don't know how you identify the plant as what
Yeah.
it is. um, so that's one and so we I think that's like a very important part of ethics in just this world is like actually providing what you say you're providing. And we send all of our extracts to a third party lab that we have no connection with, and they do analytical testing of it, and not just of the active alkaloids, but this is something that not a lot of people do because it's expensive, but we also test for residual solvents and pesticides. Uh, and that, yeah, that's so important when you're working with extracts. And that is another thing that we're starting to see, like in this space, as just like cannabis guys try to get into
Yeah.
it, and they, run it through their extractors, and there's a lot of pesticides in some of these extracts that are coming out there. So that's a really important part. And then uh, yeah, aside from like the way we treat our plants and our like crew, the we have benefit sharing agreements set up. So um, like a portion of all the kanna that's grown, like the value of that, a percentage goes to supporting these indigenous communities that use kanna traditionally.
Love it. Kind of giving back to the what made it possible. What does it go through like a fruiting stage? Like how does the plant grow? Is there a certain stage? Does it flower like cannabis, or when is the right time to harvest it, or how does the growing process look like?
Um, it's a succulent. Um, do you know what ice grass is? Have you ever seen ice grass here in on the West Coast?
Yeah, yep.
So
Usually at the
it's
beaches.
yeah, so it's part of that same family.
Okay.
Kanna is much not as hardy as ice grass. It's more delicate, uh, but um, yeah, it's relatively slow growing. It's a 6 month grow cycle until you can harvest it. Um, it's propagated a lot like cannabis. So we have a bank of mothers that we then take cuttings from and then clone them out to do big grows of like the plants that we then extract. Um, and so yeah, basically from the time that it's done made a cutting, takes 6 months to become a fully mature plant before we then go through our extraction process. And it does flower, it does go to seed. If you were to not harvest the plant, um, it has a 2 to 3 year lifespan before it's going to go to seed and die anyway.
You know, it seems like there's a pretty big spiritual impact, like just with the language you're using and the methods that you're cultivating with. I can't help but see the relationship to spirituality when you talk about giving back or sourcing it ethically, or like the mother plant. Like, do you think that your relationship with Kana has changed your relationship with spirituality?
I in some ways, like I think in that uh, like in that aspect, we found each other,
Ah, yeah.
um, because in in 2020, microdosing mushrooms and just microdosing in general started to become very popular, and I really wanted to find um, like something that I could like a microdosing product that I could offer people that was legal, that wasn't
Yeah.
scheduled. Um, and that was when so I discovered Kana way back in 2012, but I'd only ever worked with it in this like in these facilitated like ceremonies, and and it was when like people really wanted to like bring plant medicine into their day to day through microdosing that I started investigating Kana as a potential candidate for that, because I wanted something that was um, like psychoactive, and you like felt something from it that had real efficacy for mental health when you microdose it, um, that had a like a real lineage as a sacred plant,
Yeah.
and that wasn't scheduled. And Kana just checked all those boxes. But the more that I researched it, the more I realized that there was something really important here, um, because the plant has all sorts of efficacy for mental health
Yeah.
when taken in very low doses consistently over like a 4 to 6 week protocol. And so in the process of trying to find the best Kanna possible, I realized there was a real need to do what we're doing with Kanna Extract Company, um, which is working directly with farmers on the ground to produce the best Kanna extracts possible.
It's so interesting to me to see or to think about like what this can mean. And if I broaden the horizon and I look at the way in which people in addiction are now starting to see iboga as a method of curing addiction, it seems to me, and I'm not a scientist or a doctor, ladies and gentlemen, but it seems to me that Kana could be in that field too. It sounds to me like it's taking away some of this edge, it's taking away some of these anxieties. Have you ever been approached by some of these like addiction treatment centers, or are you aware of any research where people are looking at it to help people sort of move past these troubling times?
Um, so all sorts of people order from us. There's no studies on the extracts that we make and the products we make, and I think that's an important disclaimer that
Right.
anything that I'm about to say is not like FDA approved about our products. There are a lot of studies about that come from this company Zembrin, that was the first like 30. I think it's like 30 years ago now. They were the first ones to create a standardized extract of Kanna that was like just a standardized amount of mesembrine, like 0.4%, and they backed a lot of studies that so these are like what's really interesting. These are now 30 years of research with human beings, and we don't have that with a lot of substances. Um, and not only did it show significant efficacy for depression and anxiety without the side effects of what is traditionally prescribed for those issues. Um, it also showed a very strong safety profile. Like it's a very safe thing to take, especially at those levels, like ridiculously safe. Um, and it does not develop a dependency or a tolerance. In fact, it seems to be the opposite, where it's like the more you take it, the less you need it. Um, and I'm not aware of any studies that were done specifically on addiction treatment, but there has been a lot of anecdotal reports of it helping with curbing the like pain and craving that comes with addiction and like withdrawals when you're like first coming uh, off of whatever you're doing.
You had mentioned neurotransmitters earlier, and we talked about dopamine. Is it work? Do you know if it's working on like the serotogenic, the serotonin system, or is there other neurotransmitters that it's working on?
It's a lot. I would show you a graph that shows all the different neurotransmitters that it hits, but I don't know if it'll come through here. But it's yeah. So it hits your serotonin receptors, your like so the five HT receptors.
Yep.
The here, let me actually just pull it up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if this will come through. I can also text it to you. Um, those are, is it backwards? The letters.
It's a little bit backwards, but
Yeah.
I think
So
people
those
can. I
are.
think people can get an idea.
So anyway, it hits your GABA receptors,
Hmm.
your cannabinoid receptors, your PDE4 and PDE4 and PDE3 receptors, 5-HT receptors. It hits a lot, and actually each alkaloid in the plant activates them in different ways, and this is
Wow.
what those different extract profiles that we offer, lift, bliss, and rest, are really doing. Is they're like rest is more activating GABA, and so it's going to be a much more relaxing feeling than lift, which is much higher in mesombrine, and it's going to be much more euphoric and hit more of those serotonin and dopamine receptors.
It's such a trip. I know I was at the psychedelic playhouse event. I was sitting with my friend Adam Mizo, and he had just gotten some. And he's like, I've never tried it before. And I watched him take it, and like it was so awesome to see because I saw him like I literally saw him sort of go to this place of like kindness. And that's not the right word for it, but it was like this incredible lift, and like you could just see I could just see like I could see him slowly turn on, and he was like just having such a great time, you know? And I was like, "Whoa, it was so cool to get to see it." And the onset was probably like maybe 20 minutes, 30 minutes. But he
Yeah.
was just raving. He's like, George, this is amazing. He goes, I feel so much more like alive. I feel so much more like sociable, and you know, and it was just really cool to get to see that aspect of it and then see the onset sides of it. What is it traditionally used for in South Africa?
Um, it was a pretty central part of the culture for the San and the Khoi, which are two distinct cultural groups in South Africa. Um, the San in particular, they're a hunter gatherer culture that's actually still intact today, which is pretty remarkable. And they would ferment the kanna and then braid it, and then they would chew on it, and so we're essentially microdosing it during these like multi-day hunting trips where they're tracking game for days in the desert of South Africa. So you can imagine like the like physical pain, like the hunger that they're dealing with, and Kanna not only helps satiate hunger, and it's like it doesn't take pain away, but it makes it more tolerable. And then it also enhances uh, your senses. And so they would use it that way. It would be used socially, just like hanging out with the tribe.
Yeah.
Um, and then I mean, and it just to show like how safe they viewed it. Uh, if a um, if a baby was teething or colicky, they would take fermented kanna and put it in breast milk, and then like dip their finger into the breast milk and put it in the baby's mouth to help them with the pain. Um, and then they would also use it like ceremonially. So the San were masters of entering trance states, like another way of saying like altered states of consciousness, and they would do this in a lot of different ways, primarily through dancing and fasting. But when the they were first learning to cross that threshold, Kanna would be a powerful ally and aid in that process.
Yeah. It's so interesting to me to think that the antidote to a pill might be a plant. And like how much we've just forgotten how much in the environment is around us that can help nurture us into a more stable life of living. I really feel like we've just become so caught up in like urgency and algorithms and rushing, and so many of these different plant medicines really bring you back to this state of wholeness. It sounds like that's what kind of Kana does for people and for those that take it. How do you see this whole like on a big picture, Ryan? Do you see Kana being part of maybe the antidote to the urgency, or the antidote to the algorithms and this just short attention span economy?
Um, I think it can play a role in that. I think like I'm as addicted to social media as anyone else. Like I'm like
Right.
shit. Go do ibogaine to go get off my social media addiction. But the thing is that I feel like I'd probably just end up back doing it because it's so part of our culture at this point.
Yeah.
And I think that I think ultimately, like, what's at the root of so much suffering, like, I would be as bold as to say, like, maybe 99% is like a lack of connection.
Yeah.
And that is where I think psychedelics and plant medicines can really help us, is in, you know, in their own ways, like breaking down the default mode network, like our just rigid ways of thinking, softening the ego. This is why I like empathogens so much, like softening the ego and just opening us up emotionally. Like that's really what we need to just find each other. And that I think is our only hope. Like I don't, yeah, I truly don't think that there's like, we can't replace a pill with taking a plant and still go about doing everything the same. Like we really
Yeah.
do need to, I guess find each other and be with each other and be present with each other and do our best to create community in the world that we have.
Yeah. That's one thing I really love about the psychedelic space is the community. Like, I feel there's so much connection there. And I think it's because everybody has had an experience of being broken and then they have found something, primarily in this space, like some sort of psychedelic that allowed them to not only reconnect with themselves, but to find other people in that community. What, like, if you had to explain the Kanna community, like, how would you describe it?
As a seedling at this point, is
That's a good answer.
it's it's really interesting because so many people do not know about it. Like it's very rare that I meet someone and they know about Kana, or maybe they've heard about it, but then they're like, "Oh, I was thinking of kava." Like they yeah, so it's like it's finding its place. It's really cool. Like, it's funny because you're watching a lot of people come into it like from the business perspective,
Yeah,
and just like anyone, they come in and they think they're gonna take over everything, and it's like really what I've found is like these businesses come in and then like they find their people, and they're delivering something of value to their people, and that's cool to see. um and there are, yeah, it's like there are people that instantly get it, and that's really cool. Like they see like, oh, this is the thing I've been looking for to take socially or to take in
right.
my day to like, because it's like it's not like what's so popular now, like it's not like alcohol or like ketamine is becoming so popular that's like very um like disassociating. Kana's very associating and very connecting, and it's like just enough to feel better. And I hope people are really left with that. Like it's not this crazy psychedelic thing. It's like just enough to really feel good and better. Um, and Yeah, so I don't I don't know. I mean, there's so much application for this in the like let's say therapeutic route,
Yeah,
and I've been very hesitant to go down that route just with the way the FDA treats things here in
yeah,
the union of the pharmaceutical industry with FDA. But there's so much potential there. Uh, there's so much potential. It's like super important. And then there's this whole what I call social use route, which is people that are using it as you know an alternative to other things socially. Those are the two main pathways that I see it growing.
yeah. I can totally see both those avenues. If we cast a wider net, how do you see, like, you have an unusual and interesting perspective in that you can see into the psychedelic community and also into sort of like the the community of different plants and stuff like that. How do you see the whole psychedelic renaissance kind of shaking out? Are we going to continue to grow, or do you think that there's some growing pains, or does this thing go back underground, or do you have any thoughts on that?
I mean, I think a lot of us are wondering about this. I really like, and just shout out to Jacob and District 216 who connected
216.
us, because just echoing back on the last question, I think they're an example of
Yeah.
what's really beautiful of community finding, people finding each other and
Yep.
building community around this, and him in particular and his crew in particular, it's so apparent that it's fueled by an authentic, genuine love for this
Yeah.
subject, and not there. I think they're and it's not so money driven,
Yeah.
or so profit driven, I should say. Obviously, we all need to make money to live, but it's not so profit driven, and I think that is what's going to ultimately be successful, and ultimately the most meaningful too for the people that are involved. But obviously these companies are going to do everything that they can to create mini monopolies or monopolies, and um, I don't know. It's it's easy to get pessimistic. I don't want to get too pessimistic, because if it goes like the cannabis route, then it's like a
Yeah.
race to the bottom, and we've all seen what's happened to cannabis. Cannabis had this really beautiful moment where it was just there's all these cottage industries, and all of a sudden people had
Yep.
money to go and buy amazing things and support artwork. It was it was really amazing, and um, um, yeah. So I mean, I would love to see that moment in this space, um, but yeah, I don't know. Again, my hope is in communities like District 216,
Yeah.
where um, there are not there's not one authority that controls
Right.
everything. There's not one leader that tells everyone how it goes. There's a sharing of ideas, and there's a place for everyone, and and that we're all learning from and supporting each other and keeping each other accountable and safe, is really important as well.
And I love that. Like that event, like 216, that psychedelic playhouse, but I'll go back to that event. It was almost like unlike anything I've seen, Ryan. Like there's all these media rooms, and you could literally be in a room listening to MIT journalists, younger guys and elders on a panel interacting with the audience, and then right down the way you can go and have a conversation with someone that has like a Kanna product, or has someone that's filming a documentary. Like it was such a different type of event than I've ever been to before. The caliber of people that were there, not only because they were doing what they were passionate about, but because they were so engaged in helping everybody around them. Like I really see that as the future of psychedelics. And regardless of whatever happens with the pharmaceutical model or the sort of supply chain model, I really think that community aspect of it is where it is. It's like everybody's going there and they get enriched and they come back and give back to their community. I get goosebumps when I think about it. Like I see that community building, that sort of edutainment where you can get some education from some of the top professors or some of the top growers. Like it was such a mecca of like going there and learning and having a good time. Like that model needs to be exported, because it could go to different cities. It could travel. It could almost be like a fish show. You know what I mean? Like you go there, you have the experience, you get to have a good time, you get to learn. Like that's where it's at, man.
It's funny I don't know how well you know Jacob, but he's a huge fish fan. So it's funny that you say that. I'm sure it's been a big influence on him.
I think it's similar though. I mean,
Yeah.
I tend to believe that we're kind of in the late 50s, and I feel like we're on the cusp of this explosion of creativity. And you don't have to look too far. If you just go on X and look at the art community, or if you just people listening to this conversation right now and are finding out about Kana, like, well, what is this? It's like I really feel like we are on the cusp of an explosion of creativity and new modalities. And when I factor in the statistics about younger people drinking less and exploring these new things. Like, it gives me so much hope, man. What are your thoughts, man? You think we might be on the cusp of an explosion of creativity here?
Absolutely. I mean, that's might be my favorite aspect of psychedelics is like
Yes.
not approaching it from like I'm broken or I'm damaged or I'm traumatized and I need healing, and like this is something that like explodes my creative potential, and there's so much healing that just naturally comes out of that.
Yeah.
Um, and and there's like yeah, there's just so much room to create new things in the space, and again, I think that's why uh, organizations like District 216, or if District 216 wants, expands, like it's going to be really important for people to have communities like that to land in as they start to encounter the kinds of experiences that come from these substances.
Yeah. You know, one of the hot topics that I get to talk to people about and that I'm pretty passionate about is sort of psychedelics and like end of life. I know 216's got an event coming up where they're having psychedelics and end of life, but let me just put this into a two-part question for you. What are your thoughts on psychedelics of end of life? And can Kanna be a part of that?
That's an interesting question. I think even the data shows that it's been super helpful. Um, and I like my um, my father was in a near fatal car accident a couple of years ago, and like just being close to death is such a psychedelic experience in itself without having to take anything. And I think the value of, and this is where I think um, entheogens really can be quite powerful, because you do start to get this appreciation and of the mystery of life
Yeah.
and death,
Yep.
and and it's like I don't know if anyone knows. Like I question anyone, like no one really knows. But it starts to just create this like um I don't know. I think you kind of get used to the threshold of that unknown, and it can make it more of like this, like a new chapter to like look forward to. Like it's not an ending. It's like another beginning. Um, with Kana, um, I I don't have any even anecdotal testimonials to, so I would just be like, you know, speculating. I've just never
Yeah.
heard of anyone using it that way, but I bet like just when it comes to like anxiety around it, it could help a lot.
Yeah, just to
Yeah.
facilitate those conversations, because those are
Yeah.
hard conversations to navigate. And if you have
Yeah.
something that sort of opens up your heart a little bit and allows you to ask the uncomfortable questions, I think it's a giant catalyst for change and forgiveness and respect. Like, I'm gonna have to do some more research on there. I want to
Yeah.
bring in. We got some questions stacking up in the chat over here, Ryan. So
Okay.
just fair warning, I got the greatest audience in the world. So who are we gonna go with first? Thank you to everybody for being patient. This one comes from Lena from Portland. She says, "If Kana were a musical instrument, what would it be?"
That's such a good question. No one's ever asked me that question before. Something um, like what has higher notes than like a pan drum? But like something like percussion like that, that's like really sweet and melodical, but a little bit higher notes than like a pan drum. I don't know what they call those things, but that's what's coming to mind for me.
I could
That's
totally
such a
see
good
that.
question.
It
Thank you.
totally is. Okay, Mateo coming from Santa Fe. Thank you, Mateo, and thank you, Lena, for being here. Mateo says, "Do you think plants dream? And if so, do we just become characters in their dreams when we ingest them?"
fuck, that's a good. These are such
I
good
got the best
questions.
audience in the
I
world, man.
literally, as you were reading, I was like, or are the plants dreaming us right now? Yeah, I think I like, just to get into my personal philosophy. I think we are
Yeah.
all dreaming this experience together, the plants and us, and like we need each other. We need each other for sure.
Yeah, I dig that spin, Mateo. I like maybe the plants are dreaming us. You know, it's interesting to think. In like if you ever go on like a long walk in nature and you just sit down by a tree or like by a waterfall and you're like, man, am I seeing this or are they seeing me? You know, there's all this new information about mushrooms talking and like anybody who's ever done like a pretty decent dose of psychedelics has probably talked to a plant, you know, and you get the real feedback coming. It's fascinating to think about.
I've
Who else
had
do we
some.
got? Yeah.
Oh, just to add a little bit more,
Yeah,
I've had
please.
some very powerful experiences in old growth forests,
Yeah.
taking psychoactive compounds, and like the the synchronicities that I've experienced, where like animals arrived in places where like I needed like emotional support. Like it truly feels like, it felt to me like it was all one entity that was organizing this, and like the forest was that entity.
Yeah, I love that, man. You really feel like you're part of the whole in those situations. And you know, there's an interesting article that came out from Ollie. Ollie, if you're listening, I love you. Ollie Jin Bush, he's out of the UK, but he wrote this article recently that talked about the gut biome and the all the just the thousands of cells and the different sorts of entities and things we have in our body and how they communicate with each other. And maybe that's it's the internal cells or the internal, you know, organisms in our body that are communicating to the plants outside of us. And I was like, whoa, I never thought about it from that aspect, because clearly there's an exchange of information happening inside your body. So why wouldn't that same molecules or those same sort of organisms in your body be able to communicate with the life outside of your body? And like that might be what sort of the mystical feeling is, like when you see the waterfall, when you see the animal coming, when you see the plants. But man, it makes me so excited to think about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, we might all just be the puppets of the bacteria.
Yeah. Well, I think I think Terrence McKenna used to say that like you know, plants have adapted this way, like the seeds will get onto the fur of animals and then the animals will transport that seed to an environment where it can grow. So if you just, you know, put that out a little bit further, maybe we are sort of the organisms that spread the seeds for the molecules or for the plant life. It's just so much beautiful. It's so beautiful to think about yourself as part of this whole. Like you are an incredible part of this entire ecosystem. And we get so caught up in like loneliness, or we get so caught up in, being just alone at times. But all you have to do is go outside. Just go outside and sit down in the garden or plant something, and you realize like you are part of this ecosystem. You're not only part of it, like you're an important part of it. You could play a bigger part if you want to. So sorry about that, Mateo. I just kind of went off on a tangent there. But Aisha from Toronto, she says, if the first human to ever use Kanna could see how we use it now, do you think they'd smile or shake their head?
Yeah, that's a good question. I I think I think that if I think that if they could see it helping us, they would they would approve of that. But I think in general, anyone looking at our just our the way we live, most of us are like this most of the day. They
Black
would say,
mirrors.
"What happened?"
Yeah.
like um, yeah,
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like it's so addictive. It's so easy to get caught up in all of the monotony or the black mirrors in front of us. But I mean, like, maybe that's the plants talking to us. Like if you take Kanna or if you take cannabis or you take mushrooms, like that on some level, it inspires you to be closer to nature. It's like it's almost like a language, I think, on some level.
yeah.
Jonah, Jonah coming from Oakland, right down the way from me. Jonah, thank you for being here. He says, what's one question you wish people would stop asking you about Kanna, and one question you wish they'd start asking?
Man, the questions are so good. I actually have never thought about this. I truly cannot, like, I'm truly not annoyed by like it's literally my job, and I get excited to talk to people about Kanna. Um, I I guess a question that I wish people would ask more of is like, how can I take it? Like more, like I wish I got more of like the mental health stuff. Like, so much of what we offer is like more for social use, and there is this whole realm of like, if you take it below where you don't feel it, but you take it daily, like it can be a huge support. Um, and yeah, not a lot of people ask me about that.
Well, let's stay there for a minute then. Like what other aspects of mental health? Like we've talked a little bit about clarity, we've talked a little bit about anxiety and depression, but what are some other aspects of mental health that don't get talked about enough when it comes to Kanna?
Well, I think so. If you look at the pharmacology of Kanna, there's some pretty complex things going on. One is it's a bioamine releasing agent with light SSRI activity, and so what that means is like, unlike a synthetic SSRI that is basically just blocking the reuptake of this one neurotransmitter, so there's just more of it. Um, that seems to just come with so much side effects. And that's not to say like antidepressants have helped a lot of people. And if you're on antidepressants and they're helping you, you should not come off your
Yeah.
antidepressants. That's like, I think that's really important. But there are some pretty severe side effects that people go through. And one of them that's so sad is like, it seems to shut people off from a whole like part of their emotional body and emotional senses. And the way Kanna's chemistry works is it's not just, it only has light SSRI activity, so which seems to play a big role in potentially why like you don't experience these side effects. But as this releasing agent, it's releasing uh, not only more serotonin but more dopamine and norepinephrine um, uh, naturally. And then it's also I just saw this message from George here. Um, it's also a PDE4 inhibitor, and uh, PDE4 inhibitor, like a very like just simple way of explaining it is it's allowing those neurotransmitters to not get metabolized up, so they're just able to do their job better once they're absorbed by the postsynaptic nerve. And there's something about that, the combination of those three things, that makes Kanna so effective for mental health. Um, and if you look at PDE4 inhibitors, you can see that they are like the pharmaceutical versions are used very effectively for bipolar schizophrenia, but you don't hear about a lot of people on them because they almost all come with intense emetic side effects where you just vomit if you take them. So it's really unfortunate. But Kanna has this activity without those side effects. Um, so I have to be like really careful when I say this. Like I'm not making like a medical claim. I'm saying there's tremendous potential for Kanna to support with these issues. And obviously, if you have any of these issues, you should be involving your prescribing doctor with any of these decisions. But the research is there, and it's very compelling.
Nice. So the incredible George Monty on screen right now is my dad. My dad he's an incredible human being. I love him to death. Veteran, and he has run the gambit of finding solutions to deal with different ways of moving through life, man. So I'm super grateful to get to talk to you and my dad and answer these
Yeah,
awesome
thanks
questions.
for
You know, it's so
coming,
cool,
George.
man.
Yeah,
Dad, I love you, man. Thank you for being here. And we're going to
yeah,
talk more about this, Dad, after this. And yeah, it's interesting to think about these particular aspects of like bipolar. And we got. I also want to bring up Deanna Fullman here. Woo! That communication from internal to external. Everyone should go down and check out. Click on Deanna's link. She's doing some incredible work out there. Deanna, thank you for being here. She also says that bacteria puppets. You know how we do it, Deanna. What if we are bacteria puppets? So super stoked on everybody being here. Let me also jump back into the chat over here into the Discord. Um, this one is coming to us from Trevor, New York City. What's up, brother? You staying cool over there? He says, do you think Kanna heals us, or does it simply remove the static so we can remember who we were all along?
yeah. I think that's the latter is the case with all of these, plant medicines or psychedelics. It's like, um, the other aspect, like not even getting into the science of like why Kanna helps with mental health, just like the energetic of it is helping like connect. It's a connecting compound. Like it brings you more into your heart. You feel more connected to yourself. Maybe there are like aspects of yourself that you've abandoned or not acknowledged, and there seems to be something about the like experience Kanna produces, even on a microdosing level, that like reconnects. And that I think is what's at the core of why it's so, like, to me that's more compelling than like the chemistry of it is it's like something that you're microdosing that's reconnecting you to your heart.
I love that aspect of it. For me, it brings up a question of, you know, the longer you do something, the more you understand the effects of it. It's like you're building the relationship with that plant. Have you noticed that when you take it, like obviously when you take something for the first time or maybe even the first month, like you get these effects, but then like in the second month or the longer the relationship, the more you truly begin to understand what's happening in your reactions, in your attitudes. Have you noticed that with longer term use?
Yeah, and for sure. And what's really interesting about Kana, it seems that people who use it more become more sensitive to it. And I don't
Mm.
know what the science of that is. If like, like when you take cannabis, like you start to create more endocannabinoid receptors. I don't know if you're building more receptor sites, but across the board, I've seen people that use Kana regularly. Like it takes less and less to really activate them. Um, and so for me, for sure, like it does not take a lot to really, really feel it. Um, and it's yeah, I mean it's like it's become the center of my life. So my relationship with it is like it's just I've created a very, very close relationship with this plant.
Yeah, let me bring back on Clint Kyles here. Everybody, if you haven't heard the Psychedelic Christian podcast, go check it out. Clint Kyles is an amazing orator. He's got a presence about him. Go check out Clint Kyle's podcast. Clint, thanks for being here. You're an amazing human being. And he says, "What's up?" to my dad. Here we go. We got Joe, my dad, chiming back in over here. He says, "Very good conversation, guys. Yes, they let the receptors fire properly. When you go off the meds, it takes longer to and more meds to level back out, man. Good job, guys. Thanks, Dad. I love it. It's interesting to think about that when you come off the meds, a lot of different meds, it takes longer to get back to baseline. So I think that on some level, these natural adaptogens or these natural compounds are a much better way to not flood your receptors and just burn them out and whatnot. So it's so interesting, and I'm so stoked to be here and get to be talking to you and learning about these different compounds that maybe they can be very beneficial for a lot of people. I'll say it there. Anya, woo, Anya coming from Berlin. She says, if Kana was outlawed tomorrow, what would you hide? The plant itself or the knowledge that comes from working with it?
Um, I yeah, I mean I hope it does. That's such an interesting question. I don't like. I feel like I have to sit with that. The
Totally,
knowledge.
take your time, man.
Yeah.
Thank you, Anya.
I have there's a way that I want to answer that, but like being on a recorded podcast, I feel like I should not say this, but I
Be
will.
mindful. Be
Yeah.
mindful.
um like I guess what I would say is like I may not hide any of it even if it was outlawed.
Yeah. You know, it's
Yeah.
interesting because sometimes we lose knowledge like that when you look at prohibition or you look at the outlawing or even scheduling some of these things to Schedule 1. You know, look at cannabis for the love of God. Like cannabis is Schedule 1. That means there's no medicinal use. Like how much have we lost because we're unable to study this in a way that's in front of everybody? You know,
I
it's
don't think there's
interesting.
any doubt in anyone's mind at this point that the you know, the way these substances are scheduled has been compromised by financial interests.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't agree more. It's I don't know. In my personal belief is on some level, like it gets in the way of profits. Like we've already spoken a little bit about how drinking is way down, and that cuts into a multi-billion dollar, if not $1 trillion industry. Like there's a lot of people whose bread and butter comes from selling alcohol. Of course, they don't want something to compete with them, and that's the nature of business. Is like no competition. We want to run this thing. So, and
Not
I'm an
just that.
anti-authoritarian guy. So,
There's so many financial interests. Like there's prisons have become a for-profit industry,
yeah,
and the prison lobby is very
yeah,
loud in keeping cannabis scheduled.
yeah. I don't like. At the event we were at, while there was alcohol there, the majority of people weren't on alcohol, and there were no fights. There was no sort of like really obnoxious behavior. Like there was community there, and I can't help but think that's because of the foundation on which that community was running. You know, when you go out to a bar, like that foundation is run on alcohol. You know, and what happens when we run on a different platform? Like I think there's a lot of good that can come out of it, and so yeah, I'm so bullish on the future of plant medicines and community and connection. And so shout out to everybody out there. Who else we got? Oh, my boy Solomon coming from Maui. Man, I'm gonna be in Hawaii in a week or two. I can't wait to see everybody out there. Solomon says, when you take Kanna, is it more like turning up the volume on reality or finally hearing the quiet parts?
That's a good question. Um, for me, I would say more like turning up the quiet parts. Um, and but there is an aspect of like I wouldn't say turning up the volume on all of reality and experience, but definitely like when it comes to connection and
Yeah.
that like that feeling of joy when you're connecting, it definitely amplifies that.
Yeah. I'm gonna think about that question for a minute. Like if you turning up the volume on reality. That's such a Solomon, thank you. That's a brilliant question. Like what does it mean to turn up the volume on reality? I
Like
guess.
I mean that's almost how I would describe like microdosing LSD. Is
Okay.
it's like this in like it just from at least my experience like it just enhances everything. Um
Yeah.
and and like I mean, even microdosing mushrooms too. It's like there's just so much more information that's coming
Yeah.
in. It's like access to so much more information, and that is not what I would say happens with Kana. It's like you're definitely like more centered and present with it.
Yeah, you mentioned, and I see it when I go to the site, you use the word subtle a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe you could define like the quiet parts and what do you mean by subtle?
Um, there's something really cool where it's like people will take Kana, especially if like they're in a social environment like the event at the Playhouse event where there it is loud. You know, there's
Yeah.
hundreds of people in there. They're talking. It's loud, so there's a lot of stimulation. And so some people would be like, I don't really feel anything. And then if you like just draw their attention to like but wait a second. Let's just stop and like draw some awareness to how you're actually feeling. And they're like, actually, yeah, I feel like much lighter. Like I actually feel really pleasant and like happier. And it's like, so that's what I mean by subtle is like, it can be easy to miss, especially by people that don't have like a strong like self-awareness, or if you're just in a really stimulating environment.
Yeah.
um so yeah, that's what I mean by subtle. Like and it's like you never lose control. Like it's very much a dialogue. Like it's not going to take you somewhere you don't want to go. Like yeah, it's subtle, it's gentle, and functional, I think, is also a good word for it.
Yeah. I like that term for it. Priya's coming over here. Priya, she says, if you could sit in a circle with every plant teacher on earth, ayahuasca, psilocybin, cannabis, tobacco, Kanna, what would Kanna say to the others?
Settle down, bro. Like, why go so hard? Like, just relax. Um, yeah.
I love it. I love it. Raj coming in from Vancouver. He says, what's the most beautiful misunderstanding you've ever had with Kanna?
Sorry, I have my do not disturb on and it just froze my computer.
Yeah.
What's the most beautiful what?
What's the most beautiful misunderstanding you've ever had with Kanna?
Beautiful misunderstanding. Is that, can I get a little more context on the question? Is that uh, like me and the plant and like like my own understanding of it, or like with another person using it, or do you want me to
He,
just go
he says
off?
with you and the plant.
Um, Man, good questions. Um, I think I think the like the biggest misunderstanding I've ever had with it was um like because I do so many like trade show, like I'm introducing Kanna to so many people, and so much of it is like social use as like an alternative to alcohol, and so it just there's just not a lot of awareness there that this is a real plant medicine. Like when you take it, like you're like, oh, okay, like there's an intelligence to this, and it's easy for me to forget that, uh, and and so there have just been times where it's like, I don't know, like I'm like testing a different product or an extract, I've taken way too much, and it's just like it kind of like has called me out of like, hey, you need to look at what you're doing here. Like it's really like slowed me down and brought, and I don't, I hold it as like the intelligence of the plant. Who knows? Maybe it's activating a part of my
Right.
unconscious. But like I just, for me with my relationship, it's like the intelligence of the plant just kind of checking me a little bit, like bringing me back to earth, or helping ground me, um, especially when it comes to like relationships with other people. Like that's where I've found Kanna so helpful, and is like being empathic, uh, and compassionate in my relationships, especially the more challenging ones.
Yeah, that's an awesome insight, man. Thanks for sharing that. It's interesting to think about that aspect of it. Who else do we got coming in over here? This one is coming to us from Neil, and he says, what happens when indigenous wisdom and capitalist enterprise meet at the same table?
Indigenous wisdom, I think we're witnessing that, um, like in real time. You know,
Yeah.
I like I I feel like I've done, like I'm really trying to do the best I can with Kanna, and it's like, and I do actually think it is different for different plants. Um, you know, Kanna, especially because it's so light and functional, and because it has so much efficacy for mental health, and like because things like alcohol are so toxic, like it's just, it's like kind of important to get it out there. And I've really tried to do the best I could to um, create a company that behaves responsibly and ethically while trying to make Kanna available to as many people as possible. Um, the and the topic of just how we work with these communities and just indigenous communities in general is so complex and so complicated. Uh, it's like, it's so complicated it would be its own podcast, because
Totally.
you can't just give money to people, because it's like the fastest way to destroy the social fabric of the community is if you just start giving them money, or if you give some people, like, who do you give the money to? So now they have money and the other people don't. Like, it's, and then there's all these different communities, so it's like so complicated. So we have really tried to do the best we can. Kanna is still so small. Like, we're still so small from where this could potentially go, and that this is going to be something that we are constantly navigating. Where, like, there are other plants, and also I think what makes Kanna unique is like the colonization by the Dutch and the British were so effective at decimating the culture of these communities. Like, there's very few that even like use Kanna anymore, let alone remember how it was used. Where it's like, ayahuasca is like one of these ones where, like, maybe it maybe, like, the cultures are still intact. A lot of them are still intact. A lot of have been decimated, which is really sad, but a lot still are intact. And like, that experience is so profound. Like, it probably, like, I personally don't think it should go into some like corporate business model.
Yeah. It speaks to me the word rewilding comes to mind. And like, sometimes you'll see it like in a National Geographic or a documentary, or maybe even your own community, where an old piece of land just gets overrun. Like, maybe there was a barn there and it fell down. All of a sudden, all these trees are growing through it. But I think the same thing is happening in like the communities we live in. Like, the structures have kind of failed, and now we're kind of seeing the growth come back, like the new green shoots and like the rewilding of the human experience is kind of coming back. And with it comes back these plants and these experiences and these new communities. And when I look at it from that angle, like, it brings me joy. It makes me feel like, oh yeah, so there was some destruction and things have collapsed, but look at this new growth that's coming in. Look at all this new birth. Look at all these new butterflies sort of coming back to the community. And oh, here we go. My friend Adam Mizo. Adam Mizo says, "Hi Ryan, it's great to see you again.
Yeah.
Twas a pleasure meeting you in Denver. Thanks for the Kanna intro. It's a cool apothecary edition." And this is the story I was telling you about earlier. Like, me and Adam were sitting in the lounge with Jennifer Love and some guy from MIT playing the piano, which was a whole amazing another part of it. But that's when he got the Kanna, and he's like, "I'm gonna try this right now." But I totally saw Adam take it and was like, just come alive, man. He's like, "This is amazing." Shout out to Adam.
Yeah. Hey,
Um,
Adam.
Adam says, "I tried the Kanna snuff and loved the plur burst. Then I turned around and met Reggie Watts and told him his song, his song "Fuck Shit Stack" is legendary." Like, that's the power of Kanna. Next thing you know, you're talking to Reggie Watts.
Amazing.
Adam, so stoked you're here, brother. Everyone go check out Adam Mizo's Substack. He writes about some incredible stuff out there. Good friend of mine. Thank you, Adam, for being here. So, well, we have come to the part of the show, Ryan, where we like to call the lightning round. It's a fan favorite, and it's a set of questions that I ask you, and you fire off an answer. Are you ready for this?
Yeah.
Okay, here we go. So this is the lightning round, ladies and gentlemen. Prepare to get stoked. Who would you rather have be a guide for your trip, Charles Manson or Jesus?
Jesus.
Would you rather share a joint with Hunter Thompson or brew ayahuasca with Maria Sabina?
Hunter Thompson. No offense, but yeah.
Would you rather have dinner with Alan Watts on acid or Terrence McKenna on mushrooms?
Fuck, that is a hard decision. That I'm gonna just go with Alan Watts because he was just my entry point into so much like spiritual philosophical thinking.
Would you rather be stuck in a commune with Timothy Leary or a monastery with Ram Dass?
um Fuck. Timothy Leary. Yeah.
Would you rather debate psychedelics with Ted Kaczynski or AI with Elon Musk on MDMA?
AI with Elon Musk.
Would you rather become the official trip sitter for Salvador Dali or Jimi Hendrix?
Oh man. I love Jimi Hendrix so much, but to be back Salvador Dali.
Yeah. Would you rather ask one question to the Oracle at Delphi or to an alien hive mind on psilocybin?
Alien hive mind. Yeah.
Would you rather do 5-MeO DMT in a sensory deprivation tank or in the middle of Burning Man?
Um, that's a good question because Burning Man's coming up. But I would go with the sensory deprivation tank.
Would you rather, number 10, ladies and gentlemen, live inside a Terrence McKenna lecture forever or inside a Grateful Dead show forever?
Mm, I guess a Grateful Dead show forever. Wow.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ryan Latreille, Kanna Extract. Let me throw it back to you, Ryan. Like, where can people find you? What do you have coming up? And what kind of promo code, when they use promo code True Life, what can they expect?
10% off anytime they order with True Life. The website is right here. Hopefully, I don't know if people are just listening, but the website is kannaextract.com. You can order there. You can email us at hello@kannaextract.com if you have any questions, or reach out on Instagram, which is just at kannaextract. Yeah, and just, yeah, for sure, reach out if there's any questions.
What about you? Got any events coming up? You going to be at some trade shows, or if people are around the country
So
looking
there's
to?
um, I mean, I'll be at Burning Man with like a bunch of Kanna vapes. If anyone's listening, you want to come by, it's at Camp Elementum 815 and B. Come by, happy to give you a vape, a Kanna vape. And then I guess the next event is the one that you mentioned at District 216. Do you have the date for that?
I think it's September 27th, but I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I'll be in South Africa at that time, but we'll have a booth there if people are local to Santa Barbara and want to come try Kanna.
Ladies and gentlemen, go to the Kanna website, reach out to Ryan, and for everybody that participated today, I'm so grateful to have such a cool audience. Thank you, everybody, for being here. Really looking forward to it. Use that promo code, check out Kanna, and reach out to Ryan. Ryan, hang on briefly afterwards, but to everybody else within the sound of my voice, I hope you have a beautiful day. That's all we got. Aloha.
Truly a pleasure. Thanks for all the questions.
Yes. Oh, I hit the